You're listening to The Last Straw, the show about reclamation, reinvention, and momentum, hosted by executive leadership and reinvention strategist, Kristi Straw.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back in to The Last Straw podcast. My name is Kristi Straw, and I am your fearless podcast host. And you don't get a guest today, you get only me. But this is going to be really good, especially if you are any sort of a sales leader or a marketing or revenue leader, all right? I have a spicy take on a sales kickoff because I just did a workshop all day for one in the staffing industry here in Charlotte. So here is my take, okay? If your sales kickoff didn't change behaviors within 30 days, I hate to tell y'all, but it was just a fun event. Most leadership teams, they don't need more motivation. They need a language for how to actually lead and build trust under pressure. And why is this important right now, and why am I bringing it up? Because AI has literally been incredible and amazing. And at the same time as incredible and amazing, it has absolutely exposed the significant trust gap that exists in most organizations and between most customers and companies. All right. So there is a trust gap that exists here, and it's important that we talk about how to fill it. All right. So like I said, this week I was brought into a sales kickoff for an awesome leadership team. All right. In the staffing industry, they were amazing. It was the funnest 3 hours and the fastest 3 hours of a workshop that I've ever done. What was really cool about this engagement was, they weren't struggling with effort. Like, oh my gosh, top sales team, great salespeople. They were struggling with the idea of getting around like an AI solution that they actually didn't quite trust yet. And so they were struggling with the idea of, hey, we have all of these really deep relationships with our customers. We have a new product online that it's 2026 and it's an automation product. And we're struggling because we haven't ourselves seen the output of it, of how to sell that to our customers. I'm sure anybody who's in sales absolutely understands the fear of trust-based relationships and selling a product that you don't actually know is great yet, all right? So frustration with this was building quietly, and no one was interested in some speaker to come in and just talk about a bunch of hype and motivation that landed flat 10 minutes later, all right? Now, what landed in the room was that the friction was never effort. It was actually mismatched communication and leadership styles, right? People were interpreting each other's behavior versus understanding it, all right? And when you do that, we tend to solve the wrong problems because we don't have a shared language around what it is that we're trying to do. And when leaders have a shared language, they stop making up stories about each other. Think about that. How often do we just make up a story in our head? I don't know about y'all, but this is something that I've really, really had to work hard on over the last 6 or 7 years in my own executive coaching journey, right? I think we have a tendency, and lots of data and statistics show it, that when we don't have a for sure outcome, we tend to catastrophize or to have anxiety around what the outcome might be. Just as guilty as the rest of you, I still do the same thing. And when I catch myself doing it, because I will catch myself pretty quickly, usually about 2/3 of the way into the negative thought is when I'm like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? We don't need to go there. I immediately make myself turn it into a positive thought or an action item. Now, I'm not talking about toxic positivity. Miss me with the bullshit. Don't text me. Don't email me. I don't want to hear it. I'm talking about action-based positivity and how you can turn your fearful, anxiety, scarcity-based thought into an action that will move you closer to where you want to be. All right? The highest leader in the room at this sales kickoff and workshop was the president of the organization, who was a delightful man, I will say. But what was so amazing about him is he had his laptop open. He was taking notes. He was learning from shared pain points versus, letting people stay quiet. He wasn't challenging any feedback that he was hearing, which think about any executive leadership, board level roles or conversations that you may have been in. How often is the CEO as engaged? And you could genuinely tell this gentleman was excited by the fact that people felt safe to be open and honest about what was holding them back from being able to jump on to this initiative for 2026. All right. So we started talking about, what were people's challenges? Behavior started to shift in the room, right? And people were starting to open up. And you can do this too. You can use this immediately by going to my website, lighthouseleadershipconsultants.com. You can find the link for the Authentic Authority Archetype Quiz. It takes about 3 minutes. I've had about 3,000 leaders across the world take this quiz now. And what it does is exactly what we did during the sales kickoff for these leaders. We identified how each person builds trust under pressure. Think about how difficult it is to build trust under pressure or to maintain an emotionally regulated state under pressure, right? We learned how we were naturally wired, and then we named their default move when things get stressful. So when they're not feeling the love, when they're not excited about what's next, when they're frustrated that a deal doesn't close, we translated all of that directly into how they sell and how they coach and how they communicate. And so here, I'll give you a little snippet. I myself am an anchor, all right? There's 5 archetypes that you could be: a strategist, a visionary, an architect, or a catalyst. Like I said, I'm an anchor, okay? So what moves me when I'm stalled and I'm not really that excited about the next thing that I'm being asked to do? The only way I ever get bought in is when you show me context and what the cost is to humanity if I don't do it. Because I am extremely emotionally driven. Everything I do is from the lens of how does this help or harm humanity? And so knowing that I'm wired that way, my leader would want to approach me with, hey, this process automation solution is actually really useful in this situation. And here's the cost if we don't do that. This is what this costs our client. Can you believe that they would spend an extra $17,000 a year that they don't have to? And then I think about the pressure and stress that would relieve for the client. And now I'm bought in. I'm emotionally driven to the human experience. Okay. Now, the CEO of this company happened to be an architect. All right. So knowing that he was wired as an architect, I was very thoughtful and specific in the way that I communicated with him after and during. So an architect says, give me the data, tell me the system, tell me the sequence, and show me the data. So when I really wanted to make a point for the president of the organization, I made sure to point to data, right? This is the percentage of people that stay with an organization if they have an emotionally intelligent leader. In case you're wondering what that percentage is, Mr. President, it's 85%. They stay 5 years or longer if they report to an emotionally intelligent leader. Think about what that would change in your own business or in the organization you work for. That's a big ass difference when you think about retention and turnover. All right. So I knew I needed to leave with data because he is wired to understand and to gravitate toward that information as an architect in order to make decisions. All right. So my last guest, Tiffany, she was a catalyst, right? If you watched the episode before this, catalysts are all about, hey, what's the movement that we're building? What is the bigger picture and what fun stuff can I do along the way, right? How do I bring people along with me? So in that case, we're going to speak to a different part of why this next evolution of the organization is important. And none of these are wrong. It's just that misalignment with them and how we communicate them is where the friction really comes in. All right. So once you know your own authentic authority archetype, you can see the difference between shared pain points and just quiet challenge. And honestly, there wasn't a lot of challenge because when you speak in a way that everybody works hard to understand and can get around, that's when all the good stuff happens. The synergy is created, partnerships and collaborations flourish, and your results really head off to the stratosphere. All right? So listen, like I said, this is our ribbon of reckoning moment for today. Okay. And I can't show you my little ribbon of reckoning because I forgot to get it out of my bag. But it really doesn't matter because you know it's cute and you know it's blue. All right. And the ribbon of reckoning moment is if your sales kickoff or your sales meeting does not create a new standard of behavior, it is nothing but corporate coping. And who the hell wants to work somewhere where they're just coping with an outcome versus working for people who are interested and curious about changing it? Because motivation fades. Language and accountability are what change results in lives. So what behavior did you expect to change this month? Did you measure it? All right. Start every team meeting with a 10-minute trust language activity. Google it, a trust language activity. Look at the Authentic Authority Archetype quiz and take it. Use that as your trust language meeting topic. All right. And then coach to the person's archetype. Strategists, they want you to just tell them what the target is. An anchor like myself, tell me why it matters to the human. For the visionary that's always focused on the future, they want to know, well, how is this future-proof and how is this moving us toward it? An architect like the president of the organization that I coached at, they want to know the plan and they want to know the data. And then the catalyst just wants to move. They just want momentum in the right direction. So measure your conversation and your success around what is actually motivating to everyone else. So take the Authentic Authority Archetype quiz. The link will be below in the show notes. And if you want this inside your sales kickoff or leadership offsite, bring me in to speak, DM me, and we'll figure out something that works. This has been another episode of The Last Straw. I am Kristi Straw. Bye. This has been another episode of the Last Straw podcast. Let's tell the truth and build something better from it.